Hi, this is Jijo and welcome to this session. If you are a serious CAT aspirant, then you must be looking at using the past CAT papers. Now you might have quite a few questions around it. I thought I will resolve those questions in this particular session. There are three things that I want to look at. Number one is where to find them. If you don't have access to past CAT papers, let me give you a place where you can actually find them. Number two, why should we even consider these papers? For example, papers available right from 1990. Is it relevant today? And number three, how do I use them? For example, in the section of EARC, what are the areas that I should focus on in the past paper? How do I look at DILR, for example? How do I look at QA? Now, starting with where do you find them? You may have access to them. Go to this site, aspiration.ai. Now, this is a site which is available to all the students enrolled at Career Launcher. But this site is also open to everyone. You can sign up and then you can get access to quite a few things. You get various exam services that is available to you. What is important to us is MBA. Once you click that, you'll get this toolkit. Quite a few stuff that is there, but some are free and some are paid. One of the things that is free is a past CAT paper. That you'll find under the tools section. If you click there, then you click previous year's papers. If you click that, you will see CAT papers, IFT papers, SNAP paper, ZAT paper. You can click on the CAT paper. You will get all the CAT papers there. You can just click on them, download them, and then you get this PDF document with you. This PDF document contains questions as well as complete explanations of each of those papers. Now, actually, all the CAT papers are actually not available to you. Some are not. CAT from 1990 till 2008 used to release a paper after 1 year, right? So they used to release a paper. It was in the public domain. It was accessible and available. Once CAT became online from 09 onwards, some of the papers were not available. One of the reasons was from 2009 to 2013, CAT outsourced the test to an agency. And not just the conduct of the test, but also designing the paper or creating the paper. From 1990 till 2008, the IIMs themselves created the paper. Faculties created those tests, but that did not happen in that period. So those papers are not available. Post that, IIM took control of the design of the paper, but gave the conduct of the test to TCS. So TCS is an agency which conducts the test. IIM's design create the paper. Now in those 2014 till 2019, for some reason, the CAT did not release 2014 paper, 2015 and 16 paper. Those are not available. So the papers that are available with us are these set of papers, and which is quite a lot. And if you see that 2017, 18 and 19, given the fact that there was a slot 1 and a slot 2, you get 2 papers each. 2003 has 2 papers, but that is not by design. What happened during the year was that the paper got leaked. Yes, it got leaked and they had to conduct the test once again. And there you have 2 papers of 2003. All put together, we have 26 past papers available to us, and all these papers available in the site that I mentioned, aspiration.ai. Now the next question is, well, why is it very important? Now a lot of people would say that is it worth considering paper which is so old as 1990? I was not even born during that period of time. Would it make sense to solve that kind of paper? And yes, there is some merit in that argument. Or to say that if you look at the early paper, the number of questions were 200 and you had 120 minutes to solve the paper, and towards the later part you had 180 questions to be done in 120 minutes. Now that was a test of speed. I took the test in 1996 and it had 180 questions to be done in those 2 hours. It's all about managing time, and there was no time to think, no time to waste. You just go from one question to the next, picking the question and keep solving them. Now that changed from 2000 to 2008. The number of questions reduced from 180 to 150 in the beginning, and later on what we saw was it further reduced from 150 to 90, and the time also increased from 120 minutes to 150 minutes. In fact, one of the year, I think 2006, the paper had 75 questions. When you look at the paper from 2015 onwards, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19, it had 100 questions and 3 hours, and these 100 questions were also by and large fixed. in the sense that if you look at the paper from 2015 to 16 to 17 to 18 to 19, there were 3 sections. Section number 1 is verbal ability and reading comprehension, 34 questions. Out of the 34 questions, 24 were from reading comprehension, 10 were from verbal ability. Those verbal ability questions had 4 questions from paragraph jumble, 3 from paragraph summary, 3 from odd sentence. That was the case across all those years. If we look at DILR, data interpretation and logical reasoning, 32 questions, 8 sets, 4 questions each. And if you look at quantitative ability, it had 34 questions. So the CAT by and large stuck to that pattern from 2015 onwards, and it's very likely that is going to continue to 2020 as well, the year that you are taking the test. Given the changes that happened in the CAT, are these tests still relevant? I would say yes. Let me give you a couple of reasons. Number one is that when you look at your preparation, you get all these tools, right? You have a study material, you have mock tests, you would be attending some classes. And if you look at all of these things, think about study material. Where do they get the questions from? Or how do they decide what questions to be a part of the study material? What kind of chapters should be included? When you take a lesson, what concept should I deliver? If I look at a mock test, what kind of questions should I put in? And all the study material and the lectures and the mock test is designed for a future test. A good study material, good training predicts a reasonable make a good prediction about what can come in the future. But that prediction has to come from somewhere. That prediction has to come from the past CATs. So you see the study material, whatever it is that you're using, got created based on the past CAT papers. The lectures that you're attending and the class that you're attending is decided or designed based on the past CAT paper. And I'm sure quite a few lectures you've seen faculty telling you this is actual CAT question, this is important question, this is an important concept, this has been in the CAT for quite a period of time, but they're basing it on the past CAT papers. If you look at mock test even, how do I design a question? I'm not saying that the mock test copies the question, but obviously they'll have some variation of the type of question that was tested in the CAT. Now, if you look at the whole thing together, whatever is the study material that you're having, the source of it is the past CAT papers. Therefore, why not go to the source and study from the source as well? I'm not suggesting that the study material is not important. I'm not suggesting the lectures are not important. I'm not suggesting that mock tests are not important. They are important. What I'm saying is the past CAT is also an important tool, and the past CAT papers are a necessary tool. I'm not saying past CATs are sufficient for you to clear the test. I'm saying they are necessary for you to look at. Now, coming back to the second question, you look at all this paper, are all these paper relevant? Let me look at a question from CAT 2018 slot 2. This says let f of x equals maximum of 5x comma 52 minus 2x square, where x is any positive real number, then the minimum possible value of f of x is. The question gives a function. That function picks the maximum value of those two expressions, 5x and 52 minus 2x square, and gives an output. And you're looking at the minimum possible value of that particular function. Now, if you look at this question from 2006, you see the similar structure. Let f of x equal to maximum of two functions. There 2x plus 1 and 3 minus 4x, where x is any real number, then the minimum possible value of f of x is. Look, let's go back to 2003, the leaked paper. Let g of x equal to maximum of 5 minus x and x plus 2. The smallest possible value of g of x is. You see, all these questions are similar and has the same fundamental concept being tested. We can even go back to 1991 paper, where he had this question which says let y equal to minimum of those two expressions, x plus 2 and 3 minus x. What is the maximum value of y for x between the range of 0 to 1? All these questions were testing the same thing. If you knew how to solve the 1991 question, you would know how to solve everything else. And I'm not here suggesting that the CAT repeats question. No, that's not my point. My point is that even a paper in 1990 has a similar type of question that is still relevant today. Think about this. The CAT made some changes, and those changes were largely cosmetic changes to the pattern. But if you look at what makes a CAT paper are these questions. The type of questions, or they may have slight variations in terms of the type of question asked, but fundamentally the skill set that was tested in the 1990s is the same skill set that is being tested even today. All the tests, irrespective of when the tests happened, is absolutely relevant for your preparation. Now, having realized that the CAT past paper is very crucial for a preparation, now it is important for us to understand how do I use them? What are the important things in this paper? How do I go about preparing using these CAT past year papers? Now, the way in which we have to look at it is in this perspective that I'm going to take the test in 2020, and I'm likely the 2020 paper would be very similar to the paper in 17, 18, 19, even 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So whatever is my preparation, whatever I'm looking at from the past paper, need to aid my 2020 preparation. Now for that, 17, 18 and 19 paper is absolutely crucial and important. I need to look at the past paper as well. So let's dive right in and look at each of these sections, starting with verbal ability and reading comprehension. Now, if you look at the VARC section, it has got grammar-based questions, vocabulary-based questions, reasoning-based questions, which are questions like paragraph jumble, paragraph summary, paragraph completion, critical reasoning, and questions like those. And then you have reading comprehension. And if you look at the composition of the paper across, you see that in the 1990 to 1999, 50% of VARC were reading comprehension, 20% were reasoning-based question, roughly, and 10% the vocabulary-based question, and 20% is grammar. When you look at 2000 to 2008, there have been quite a few variation in terms of the composition of various papers. The one set was one kind of papers where had 50% comprehension, 10% reasoning, 20% vocabulary, 10% grammar, and you also had papers which did not have any question on grammar or vocabulary. 60% were on comprehension and 40% was on reasoning. Now you had quite a few of those variation. Now, if you look at the paper in 17, 18 and 19, which is also the kind of same as 15 and 16 as well, you see that 70% of the paper is reading comprehension, 30% of the paper is reasoning. There are a lot of variation when it comes to VARC across the year. So when you look at grammar and vocabulary based questions across the year, you see that in 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19, those questions are missing. Those questions were not asked. And it's very likely that is going to be the case in 2020 as well. So when it comes to vocabulary and grammar based questions on the past papers, you have a choice. You can avoid them or you can look at them. It may be very useful for other exams, but purely from a CAT perspective and from what we have seen from papers 15 to 19, and that is likely going to continue to 2020, vocabulary and grammar based questions for the previous CAT paper may not be that important. At this point in time, I should also tell you that nobody can be 100% sure as to what is going to happen in 2020. But 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19 did not have vocabulary and grammar, so very likely that 20 will not have. And anyways, by the month of August or mid-September, CAT will come out with a sample test. And the structure of the paper would be similar to what is in sample test. Now the sample test paper of the CAT has got some vocabulary based question, grammar based question. We'll look at that point in time. Today I would say that if you are focused on the CAT, then this vocabulary and grammar based question from the past CAT may not be that relevant. When it comes to reading comprehension, the story is of course very different. 70% of the paper now is reading comprehension. And across the CAT, you have at least 50% of the questions there from reading comprehension. Now, reading comprehension is something that you can do from the past paper. Just that the reading comprehension question from 1990 to 1999, well, the passages were slightly long, 800 words passages, maybe 700, 800 words. There are even 1000 words passages. Some are actually the smaller ones, but you have different varied length passages. 2000 to 2008, it was slightly more tougher passages. The topic was slightly more denser. If you look at the recent CATs, more moderate. Now you might want to look at and say that I might make sense to only look at moderate questions, but why? It is reading comprehension. reading comprehension, the skill set that is required to do a long question and a tough question, a moderate question or moderate paper is more or less the same. You need to understand the main idea, the primary purpose, or the specific recall kind of question or inference based question. You see quite a few of them in the PassCat as well. And given the fact that these are all IMs that created the paper, it makes a lot of sense to look at all the reading comprehension across all paper. So one thing that you must do is to solve all the reading comprehension question, irrespective of whether it is long, short, tough, or whatever. You will get a good sense in terms of what is being tested, and you will improve your skills tremendously. So we'll do all the reading comprehension question, ladies and gentlemen, and that will be these count. Some paper have 9 passages, some have 6, some have 5, some have 3, some have 4, some have got 5. That 5 plus 5 in 17, 18, 19 is slot 1 has got 5, slot 2 has got 5. That's what that means. All put together you have about 137 passages, and that would probably take about 25 hours. I'm not obviously suggesting that you start in the morning and by night solve everything. I'm saying that you can spread it out, but you will require a total time at least 25 hours. Let's look at reasoning based question. And you see reasoning based question was there across the CAT. But there is just one problem here. When you look at the reasoning based questions of the recent CAT, there are 3 kind of questions that has been asked. One is paragraph jumble, type in the answer, that is TITA, that is type in the answer, or non-multiple choice question, where you have got 4 sentences or 5 sentences given to you, jumble, and you have to type in the right order. You don't have any options. Odd sentence in a paragraph, where you have 5 sentences given to you, you have to pick that one sentence which does not belong to the paragraph. The paragraph summary question, that were multiple choice questions. And this has been the same type of question in 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, and therefore very likely to be this question in 2020 as well. So I need to have my skills in these 3 types. Do I find them in the PassCat? And that is where we have run into some sort of a trouble. If you look at the PassCat papers, the verbal reasoning question were not kind of fixed. They asked varied different type of question. You had paragraph jumbles, but those were multiple choice paragraph jumble because you had options. There were, in the earlier stage, you had questions of syllogism, analogies, and from 2000 to 2008 you had questions, paragraph summary questions were there in a couple of tests. There were paragraph completion, fact, inference, judgment, critical reasoning, all sort of different type of questions were asked. But we are interested in paragraph jumble, odd sentence, paragraph summary. If you look at that as a story, you have option of paragraph jumble with options, from 1990 to 1999, they did not have any odd sentence questions or paragraph summary questions. In 2000 to 2008, you had paragraph jumble question with option and paragraph summary question. The paragraph jumble question with option were there in almost all the tests except in 2006 and 2008. The paragraph summary question were asked in 2 tests, 2003 repeat paper and 2004 paper. What you can do is that you ignore the options, you treat the questions like type in the answer question and solve it like that. And that could be one way to look at the paragraph jumble question. Then you have quite a few questions to look at, And then of course you have those 60 questions from 17, 18, 19 slot 1, slot 2 papers, and that is going to be useful. But for odd sentence in fact actually started once the CAT became online. We don't have too many questions from the CAT available to us. Paragraph summary was once in a while CAT is asked. But post 15 onwards, obviously we've seen that in every single test. So for that you will probably require other sources. Therefore, when it comes to VARC, in terms of looking at the PassCat papers, number 1 is that solve all reading comprehension. That takes care of 70% of the question type that is tested in the CAT. Number 2 is that solve paragraph jumble, ignoring the answer choices. That's something that you could do. And number 3 is 17, 18 and 19 papers solve every single question. This I believe would require about 40 hours of effort in total. And again, I'm not suggesting that you start today and finish off in 8 days, 5 hours. That's not my suggestion is. You could do that, but that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm just saying that all put together, you will probably require at least 40 hours to finish off all the things. Now let's look at data interpretation and logical reasoning. In the initial, from 1990 to 1999, there were largely calculation intensive kind of questions. which got table, chart, and you have to look at the numbers and actually calculate and find out the answer. That kind of changed in 2000 to 2008. You had more logic-based question. Even though there was data interpretation there, you did not require a lot of calculation. You can use a lot of logic. A lot of interesting logical reasoning questions were asked during that period of time. 17, 18, and 19 is also largely logic-based. Yes, you do have a once in a while calculation-based question, but largely application of your logic. Now, would it make sense to look at the past paper? Yes, of course. One reason is here. You look at this CAT 2017 slot 2 question. Okay. Now have a look at the CAT 2007 question. Do you see something fishy here? Look at the table. That looks pretty much the same. Okay. You have the numbers almost the same, and their question by and large is the same, just that the story is different, but I think the maths involved is the same. I'm again not suggesting that the CAT is repeating question, but what I'm saying is a past CAT papers help write. That's all my point is. Now when it comes to DLR, you have to be a little smart. You don't want to solve every single question from the past CAT papers. You could, but I'm saying that you have to focus on certain type of questions. If I list down all the questions from 1990 to 1999, which I believe test the same kind of skill set that we are seeing now, and this would be the questions. The page number is a page number corresponding to the PDF file that I showed you in the beginning, and those are the questions. And from 2000 to 2008, those are the set of questions. And then of course you can solve the questions from CAT 2017, 18, and 19, which will be absolutely relevant. And that will be a sum total of 92 sets, which probably require about 40 hours. Now you could probably pause the video, take a snapshot of this and keep it to your reference. And therefore when you solve it, ensure that you solve all these questions for sure. Of course, you can solve the rest of them, you can finish everything, but at least you must ensure that you definitely solve all these questions. For DLR, 1. Solve all 17, 18, and 19 papers for sure. Number 2, solve at least the select 44 sets from CAT 1990 to CAT 2008. That should take about 40 hours of effort. When it comes to quantitative ability, now here things are pretty straightforward and simple, because we remember this, right? Okay, so concept of maths is by and large the same. What is being tested in maths in 1990s is same what is being tested even now. So every single test makes sense. You will solve all questions, all the 944 questions available across all the tests is something that you will solve. Not just solve, actually you will have to master them. You know how to solve every single question. You should know every single concept of this, and that might be good enough to even clear the cutoff. And that, ladies and gentlemen, should take about 75 hours. Now if you are someone weak in maths, for sure ensure that you solve all these questions for sure. Know every single question, how to solve them, how much of a time that takes. Maybe it may take more than 75 hours. Ensure that you know every single question. One problem you might face here is the fact that these papers that I showed, the PDF file, is divided into various tests. It is not divided in terms of topics. So it's not divided saying arithmetic this other question, algebra this other question. So you might want to look at these past CAT papers probably after spending probably a month and a half, or 2 months in doing at least one round of all the concepts of maths, and then you can plunge and look at the QA questions. Or you could even start looking at each paper and pick up those relevant questions and solve them. That I'll leave it up to you. What I believe is that you should solve everything, and that will take about 75 hours. That is 155 precious hours that we're going to spend solving CAT papers. Now you can decide how to put this 150 hours, when to put this 150 hours, when you want to start. My suggestion would be that for VRC, in fact, you can start now. Because there is no such thing as completing VRC before I want to start something, or I want to study the concept before I start. I think you can start the VRC now. Even data interpretation, logical reasoning is something that we can start now. QA, you take a call. Maths, you want to start now, or you want to first at least go through one round of all the concepts, then you start. But irrespective of whatever, before the CAT hits, you have to spend this time 155 hours and ensure that you solve every single question. And let me say this once again, I'm not saying that PassCat paper is sufficient for your preparation. What I'm saying though is that PassCat paper is a necessary component of your preparation. Go to aspiration.ai if you don't have access to the test. Download the test, keep it with you, and get cracking. Thank you. And if you need any specific section that you want me to cover, please feel free to put that in the comment box. I will have a look at them and see if we can take those sessions. Thank you and goodbye.